Hi, my name is Malik. I am a creative brand manager and a marketing consultant. So I'm an atheist, agnostic, and a humanist. Yeah, so those are the labels that I like to use. Um, I would say since 2015. Yeah, 15 or 16. No, it was probably 15, 2015. Okay, so the reason why I'm an atheist and agnostic is because of the fact that there hasn't been testable data or evidence given that suggests that there is the existence of a higher being, right? As well as the fact that like every culture has their own god. And so like at what point do we figure out which god is the real god and which god is not? Or are all of these gods existing at the same point in time? So that's just the reason why I don't believe. It's too messy for something that's supposed to be so orderly. No, so interestingly, before 2015, I mostly identified as Muslim until I got into high school, and because like my high school was Christian, they started forcing us to go to. So they had us go to church, and because like everybody around me was Christian, I was like always being preached the Christian message. I started to read a bit more on Christianity, to explore a bit more, to understand what it meant. And that's when my faith in faith started unraveling, I guess. I would say reading, to be very honest, because stories like took me to other cultures. They showed me that the Greeks had their own gods, the Romans had their own gods, Egyptians, Nigerian tribes. And so when I started reading about other gods and like how everybody believed with certainty that their god was the god, or like their gods were the gods, it got me questioning what like religion and faith and all of this is about. And so throughout that questioning, I read more. And like I did a bunch of research, and that's how I came to what I am today. But absolutely. So one of the main benefits that I observe as like a non-believer is peace of mind, because of personal reasons. Watch the next episodes to find out. Being religious was kind of problematic for me, in that like it attacked a fundamental part of my identity. So now that I don't believe, it's just so much more peace of mind to reconcile with myself and to build from that, as well as just like peace of mind of not having to worry about going to hell or like constantly worrying about other people's judgment, because fundamentally religion has like a big component that's made up of judging other people for not being as holy or as proper as you. So just like having that off of my chest was really just gives me peace of mind. Oh, and it helps me save money, because if I had to go to church, I would have to pay tithes, and economy is hard, man. No, I don't think so. Fortunately for me, I work in a workplace that is very secular and very open-minded. So your belief or your choice not to believe doesn't impact like your salary or just the experience that you'll get from working there. Also, most people just when they hear the name Malik, they assume that I'm Muslim, and they don't have that conversation with me. So. And I don't bother to like rectify it, because why? It's just more stress having to now explain why I don't believe in all of that. So I think that I haven't had any challenges or difficulties now that I am an atheist / agnostic. Yes, one of the definite advantages of my non-belief is the fact that it's made me more of a critical thinker. Because prior to that, you'd have the knowledge model where they give you the knowledge, you don't question, you just take it. But because I got into questioning my faith and my identity and all of that, it kind of built the practice of asking questions within me. And now that's become an indoctrinated habit of mine. So that's one of the definite advantages for me. Okay, so my family is very religious, very Muslim, right? No, Islamic is the right term, I think, yeah. And you can imagine me going up to them and saying, oh, I don't believe in God or Allah. It could be pretty problematic. But thankfully for me, some of my family members, or most of my family members are in the US. So they're already exposed to different cultures and different understandings. And dare I say, maybe they're not that religious themselves, I don't know. But it doesn't necessarily impact our relationship, except on times where they expect me to behave like I'm still a Muslim. But otherwise, our relationship is pretty much the same. It only affects that of me and my parents because, of course, diehard Muslims and everything. So it's put a bit of a strain on our relationship. But I mean, it's not that deep. We still have a pretty pleasant relationship, just that we don't agree on religion. Being part of a small minority is something that I've always felt. So it's not as though me discovering that realizing that I don't believe in God hasn't really changed that much for me, because it's already something that I'm used to. But what it feels like to me to be a part of a minority is that it builds tough skin, because you realize that people aren't always going to be on your side and whatnot. So you have to realize that it helps you grow, essentially, being part of a small minority. Yeah. Yes, I think it would have a positive. I'm torn between this because on one hand, having a large population being non-religious would mean that, ideally, more critical thinkers and more people who are ready to actually do work as opposed to relying on some divine entity. But there hasn't necessarily, I haven't found any specific research that correlates faith or religiosity with development. You may have some countries that are very developed but still religious. But I feel it just depends on how, you blend religiosity and development or whatever it is. Because if it's used properly, it can help develop a nation faster by unifying people. But also, if you just preach the message that, you're just supposed to wait for some divine help, or this right here is not what you have, then it is detrimental. But I'm not necessarily of the view that having more non-believers is necessarily going to improve the country. It may, more so than having only believers, but again, it's dependent on a bunch of things. So on the issue of morality and religion, I find it very arrogant and diminishing of people to assume that human beings cannot be moral people without religion. People came before religion. We had our moral systems and our ethical systems prior to religion. Actually, don't quote me on that, but you get what I'm saying. You can be moral without religion. It's not having religion doesn't necessarily make you a more moral person. And if you look into the Catholic Church, for example, right, and all the scandals about the preachers doing all those nasty stuff to young men, You would think that, being religious was something mean that you have more morals, so you wouldn't do that. But yet, here's a case that disproves it. So, no, I don't think so. Hell. No, not necessarily. I'm not, to be very honest, because I realize that it's all a human construct. You can trace the concept of hell from early religion. I don't think it's real, so I'm not bothered about it. Some other people disagree. That's their team. When we die, we die. That's it. If I'm feeling optimistic or positive on a certain day, I might say that we reincarnate. But death is death. That's it. Just deal with it, man. What would your advice such person to do? Read. So read more. Try and meet people of different opinions, or from various religious groups, just to get a bit more comfortable with the idea of not being of a certain faith. Come to humanist meetings. Yes, definitely. We will welcome you, we'll answer your questions, we'll make you laugh. We might even give you food if you behave right. Just maybe. But yeah, and that's it.